What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? Welcome to today's video. I'm Mr. Rad, and we're going to be firing up the turbo Mazda RX8 on the cheap with the eBay, China, Taiwanese war whistle, China choo-choo, whatever you want to call it, $143 turbo, and our Amazon $100 intercooler kit. So we've got a little bit of work to do before we can just turn the key. So we've got to make an up pipe, i.e. a down pipe that goes out the hood. So I've got this lovely U-bend of mild steel here because, you know, it's the cheap RX8. We can't use stainless on this thing. That'd be too fancy. So this is going to go somewhere in this vicinity, sticking up out of the hood somehow, some way, such that my passenger gets all sorts of lovely exhaust flames and fumes right in the passenger window. But we're going to have AC so I can keep that window up. I got to add an O2 sensor to this, maybe two of them. I'm not sure if I have to run the downstream one, like for the catalytic converter, you know? I don't know. It shouldn't matter. Maybe we'll have two. Stock ECU life. Got to figure it out. So that's that part. I went ahead and cut a 4-bolt flange out on the plasma table. This is just some 1/4-inch steel. I probably should have left a little bit more, you know, radius on this, but there's a 1/4-inch there, so it should hold the gasket down if there's a little bit of an air leak. Okay, so it's, you know, the O2 sensor reads a little lean because there's extra air, which means there's extra fuel in the engine. It's just safer, right? So not that worried about it. We'll see if it blows the gasket out real fast up in here. Intercooler pipe's just chilling. The intercooler, the pipes, all that stuff is at the fabricator. He's going to weld that stuff up. So hopefully we get that stuff back in time for the end of this video to actually see this thing make some boost. But we've also got to sort out a turbo feed, so an oil feed, to which I have a pretty fun little trick for you I'm going to show you on getting oil out of one of these things, in addition to the turbo drain. So first things first, the most satisfying part, let's build the up pipe, and then we do all of the crap work that nobody ever wants to do, which is crawl into the car, drop an oil pan, hook up an oil feed, like the boring stuff. So let's start with the fun. Right there to start. Now when I cut this, it's definitely going to be an oval and not a circle, so we'll have to do some creative hammering. I have to apologize to my ECU because it's going to get melted for sure. Look at this hood pipe, guys. I am fired up. So I got this all welded up, got it on here nice and solid, or at least as solid as it is while the turbo's still loose on here. I found just a piece of scrap 3-inch laying around for this little kick up at the end, and it's gonna be pretty much perfect after some slight ichrometering, and I could not be more happier with it. So next on the list is literally one of my favorite, common, super easy things to do on these rotary engines. Okay, we need a turbo oil feed. Where are we going to find oil pressure on the rotary engine? Using my hybrid brake assist as an example, I'm going to show you. The oil pump is at the front of the engine. It's right under the front cover. It pumps oil out of the front cover first. So the first thing that your oil does is go out of the engine. It goes through the oil coolers in the front bumper. I forget if it goes to the passenger side one first and the driver's side one first, or on a first gen there's only one cooler, but it goes through the coolers. Then it comes all the way back to the back iron of the engine. On your oil filter pedestal right here, you can see there's a giant port right there. And on this pedestal, it goes into the pedestal. It then goes up into the filter, or it goes down and bleeds out into the oil pan again. Okay, so the oil pressure regulator's at the back. So this first port on your oil filter pedestal, or at least where this inlet is dirty, pre-filtered oil. The only clean oil is the one that comes out of the upper one, which is the top of the rear iron. That goes through the dowels into all the bearings. Everything's happy and hunky-dory. So where are we gonna pull our turbo feed oil from? Is actually take a banjo bolt, which is the same bolt that would bolt one of these oil cooler lines on. We're gonna drill that and tap it and then run the oil feed from there. So the reason I say this is my favorite thing to do, if you're ever adding an oil pressure gauge to your RX7, RX8, or whatever, simply find a used or another banjo bolt, drill it, tap it for 1/8 MPT, put like a -6 or -4 fitting on it, whichever you need. Then all you have to do is swap out that banjo bolt. Now you have drilled and tapped oil pressure sender, etc., for little to no time investment. So albeit mine is going to be dirty oil to this turbo, and no, I'm not going to put an inline filter in this deal. We're just going to run this whole, you know, nice Evil Energy Amazon special braided hardline right here to the turbo. I might even get fancy and put a -4 AN 90-degree fitting on there, so it at least like points in a clean and nice direction. But one thing you do have to be aware of, okay, when you're turboing or doing something, especially to NA engines like this, you might think it's in your best interest to buy one of these sandwich plates, okay? You've got to be careful when you're putting one of these sandwich plates on to make sure that you're getting clean or dirty oil. You need to understand how the sandwich plate works. Some of the like FD RX7 billet oil filter pedestals, T2 billet oil filter pedestals, etc. Yes, they have a bunch of ports on them for gauges or pressure sensors and stuff like that, but most of the time they're dirty oil. You've got to just be aware of where you're getting your oil from. Obviously, $142 turbo, any oil is good oil in my opinion, so we're just going to send some oil to it, call it a day. This thing still had some oil in it. So we've got to sort out a turbo drain on this deal. And I have a couple ideas. We're going to be utilizing either the oil pan, which is less than ideal because it's below the oil level, or the front cover, which is actually proving to be ideal because I'm pretty sure I can drill this from right here and I don't need to take the engine out. The oil pan was leaking oil previously. These rotary engines love to sweat horsepower. If you don't have oil under your rotary engine, there probably isn't any oil in your rotary engine. So most of my stuff, albeit it doesn't leak like profusely, it sweats some horsepower. So we got to clean all this off. We'll re-glue this on. These are inherently hard to seal because of the housing, iron, everything. It doesn't exactly sit perfectly flat. So I'm going to make a big mess. I changed Hawaiian shirts because I really like my orange one, and I didn't want to get it all covered in oil, whereas like this one, they're all expendable, but the orange one is like 4% less expendable than this one. Okay. So I've got my hole drilled in the front cover right here. So this is going to be the turbo drain. So I've got this simple brass barb fitting. It's, I think, 3/8 NPT. It's pretty big. I've got the right tap and everything for it. This isn't my first rodeo drilling for this size pipe thread. The front cover is very thin here though, so this is going to require some RTV or something to help seal it. There's not going to be a lot of thread bite in this. However, this is going to be above the oil line in the pan. So on RX8s, the oil pan is super shallow and your oil level actually goes up above it and then into effectively the engine. I mean, your rotary engine has like a cavity under it. There's no, you know, crank splash or baffle windage tray stuff in a rotary engine because of, you know, where the crankshaft and all that stuff. All that actually happens inside the rotors. But regardless, on my red car, I've got my turbo drain in the side of the oil pan. It has a GSLSE oil pan in it. They're a little bit deeper. It's right at the top. It's probably still below the oil level. Hydraulically, to me, you know, if you fill the straw up the tube, like there's just going to be oil in the drain line and then it'll drain out. But there is like some people who say the turbo drains have vapors and it can just get weird. I don't know. So we're putting this above that. This is just going to be a barb. I've got some braided -10 line that I'm going to stick on here and hose clamp it. In addition to, I've got a little like longer style bung looking thing that goes on the bottom of the Garrett turbo flange, and that'll just have a hose clamp on it as well. The turbo drain is literally low pressure oil. It is not high pressure. It's just oil dripping out of the bottom. If you think about it, we're actually feeding it through a restricted tiny little, you know, 1 millimeter diameter pinhole. So albeit that pinhole could be like fire hose level pressure and velocity, the volume of oil is overall pretty low. So ideally, not an issue, but we will find out. So I chopped up the airbox so I could have a MAF sensor in line with the intake, just bypassing the turbo. We've got the laptop here, flashing VersaTuner back, undoing all of the hybrid tuning that I'd done to this car previously. Now, whenever I started this, and the reason you're not seeing exactly what's happening on the screen aligned with my voice is because the exhaust blew out the camera microphone, and for some reason I don't have audio of this clip. This whole segment of the video right now. It really irks me because you can tell on the screen that I have an insane amount of energy right now. The car fired up, it sounds super rad, and look at the little twirly-doo spinning in the turbo. So I'm fired up, doing some fresh revs right here. You can see all of the self-learn, blowing extra fuel, extra stuff out, and I cannot wait for how dumb this car is going to be on the street because it's ultimately going to be very slow, but it sounds really good. You guys are going to hear it in a second, but I just had to show you, look at all the energy on my face. It sounds so cool. I can't wait to be a delinquent driving this around on the street, just blowing flames at every opportunity I get because this is going to be the most fun car ever. Set this thing on the ground, torque this front wheel lug nut set, and we're ready to actually back this thing out of the garage and see if it spits some gnarly flames outside in the dark. Get fired up. It's got water in it, a reasonably secured battery. All right, get fired up. Let's drive this thing, or at least we're gonna back it outside. I don't know why the clutch switch doesn't work. I really want to be able to launch control this deal. So do we investigate that first? We should investigate that first. Well, I figured out why my clutch switch doesn't work, and that's because there isn't an actual clutch switch on this car. It's unplugged and non-existent. So I grabbed one from the parts car. Just gonna install that. Hopefully, we just now have a clutch switch. It'll work. I don't really know how cruise control was working without that plugged in either. Now, we have clutch switch. Okay. I don't even know how ready I am for this. Okay. Still starts without the clutch switch pushed in. That's interesting. It is kind of loud. It is kind of loud. It's not liking first. There we go. This is gonna be very loud. Are we ain't care enough to not even let it warm up? Stay running for me. Sheesh. Still has to relearn its idle. I'm kind of making it mad. Alright, my oil metering pump is leaking. Gotta fix that. I fixed the oil leak. My oil metering pump block off, it came off. So now these flames should be sick. This car is going to be so stupid, but it's going to be so much fun. Okay, so here's the deal. We're ending the video with that because I got a major, not really major oil leak, but another oil leak because my kind of fix didn't fix it. So this is sketchy turbo RX8, okay? Right now, it's just the turbo. There's no actual like boost happening, waiting for the fabrication to get done so I can put the intercooler and all that jazz back on here. So get fired up for that. This might be a good time. I don't know. I should probably learn how to TIG weld. Might be something I need to look into. So drop some comments below on like a good starter welder or something I should try to find used to like get my feet wet TIG welding. Because then I wouldn't have to wait on TIG welding to get done by somebody else. But pretty fired up. Here's my oil leak, guys. So on the RX8, it's got an oil metering pump still. I don't have it hooked up, basically. So the oil injectors, I think 2 of them are in there, 2 of them aren't. I broke some oil lines whenever I was doing the hybrid stuff. Kind of just put it back together. I didn't really want the oil metering pump on this setup anyways. Y'all can just leave your oil metering pumps on. It's nothing crazy, but I had literally looped 2 of the lines back together with just some vacuum line, assuming that me having shoved it on there about 1 inch, that would be enough friction to overcome the PSI that's in that tiny little line, which shouldn't be that much, even if it was pretty high pressure. So it keeps blowing the line off. So that's what you see here. This is literally just oil metering pump oil squirting out of the oil metering pump itself. So what I probably need to do is take those lines and just bolt them on or epoxy them shut at the oil metering pump itself, or put solid bolts in instead of those banjo bolts, or just maybe take the banjo bolt and take them all out and weld them solid at the end and then put them back in so no oil comes out. On the RX8s, I don't think with VersaTuner I can be like, hey, the oil pump doesn't exist, don't put car in limp mode. So I don't think that exists. On the older RX7s, you can remove the oil metering pump and tune it out and it doesn't freak the car out. I don't know if I can get away with that on this without going to a standalone ECU. So we've got it, obviously, to the point now where it spits some mad flames, and I'm excited. That's just rev flames. So can't wait till, you know, like rev limiter flames. I wish the clutch switch would have fixed it so it would have went on the... It has a launch control for VersaTuner. I don't know what activates it. Ernie told me it was just the clutch. Maybe I have to go 100% TPS to make it work. I'll have to do some research on that, but just wait until it's like flames out the top, you know. It's gonna be freaking rad. So other than that, intercooler piping, the battery, I want to use this one, but I'm gonna put it back here. Okay, so I despise remote mounted batteries in the trunk. I've got one on the green car. It's convenient-ish. It's very inconvenient if you like have an FD-RX7 and you put the battery in the bins behind the seat, and then inevitably your car sits forever, the battery dies, and then you have to jump start it over your nice interior and your beautiful Recaro RZ seats and make sure your clean, dirty jumper cables don't get everything dirty. It's just a pain. So simpler to keep it up here. I think a battery of this footprint will fit okay back there. If not, I'll get a smaller battery. I've got a Braille battery in the rally car that works really well, albeit those are a little bit pricey. I can probably get away with running something like this. This is a Stinger. It's a glass mat battery, so AGM, and it's very compact. Not super lightweight for how small it is. You would think it'd be lighter, but this isn't like the $1,000 or $500 crazy small battery. It's like a couple $100. They work really well, keep them charged, etc. So that's where we stand on the yellow car, guys. The thing runs, the thing spits fire, and I am so excited. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching the videos. Leave in the comments. The Gears and Gasoline video just dropped, so get fired up for all of the new guys coming over from the Gears and Gasoline stuff. Let me know in the comments below any questions you guys have about the Turbo RX8. We got a little bit of work to do before we can get this thing tuned, but we're going to be ready to take this thing to dyno. And, you know, it has a 4 PSI wastegate spring in it, guys. Everybody's saying, your turbo manifold's not efficient, and why are you putting junk parts on the da-da-da-da-da, and it's not gonna work, and whatever. Okay, guys, here's the deal. This isn't the crazy off-the-wall YouTube expensive car build. This is I want to have fun with my one pair of seats RX8 investment car that we now invested another pair of seats into car. I don't really care if it doesn't work efficiently. I want 6 pounds of boost and flames. Thanks for watching. Keep it rad. We'll see y'all in the next one. Oh, man. Guess I ought to go apologize to my neighbors. I kind of want to watch my footage of this back really quick and see how much flames there are on this. Oh, yeah. How loud is it? Oh, and you can hear the little whistle. It sounds like a supercharger. Peace, guys. We'll see you in the next one.